No, we do not have breaking news. That's me trying to find the right button. Justice, Felix for CampusCanton.com. We got an AMA here. Justice, we got a question from the Discord, but I've also got a top 3 of underground comedians that you might not know that you need to check out. Which one should we tackle first? Oh, wait, you're muted. Hold on. Let's get you right. All right, which one should we tackle first? Go ahead.
The comedians?
I think we have to. And I'm glad you said that because that's where I wanted to go. All right, here we go. It's just a top 3. I was trying to think of a top 5, but I would be lying if I added 2 more. Number 3, this is in descending order. Number 3 is Dub Davidoff. He's based out of New York. So if you go to the Comedy Cellar, they're the legendary Comedy Cellar. He's often on there. He's kind of like Bill Burr in that he's got that angry New York in him. I think Austin saw him with me, Dub Davidoff. He probably doesn't remember who that is, but
I do.
So
Sure.
Dub Davidoff. And that's number 3. Number 2 is Casey Shornima. I don't know if that's how you say her name, but she's also based out of New York. She is touring right now. I missed her show just in like Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area. I wanted to go. She's a writer for SNL. Very funny. And then my favorite, who just did the Netflix is a Joke Festival in California. He's based out of Atlanta, though. Mandel. These are not comedians that you would have ever heard of, but check them out. Mandel, Casey, Shore, Nima, and Dub Davidoff. Do you have a top 5, Justice? Give me your top 5.
Comedians? Oh, man.
Right
Oh, gosh. Martin Lawrence, Dave Chappelle. Oh, man. Cedric the Entertainer, Andrew Dice Clay, and Rodney Dangerfield.
Okay, we got some
variety
there. Yeah, we do. I think mine. Well, I'm thinking of right now. So mine would be, Chappelle would be up there. Tom Segura, Brian Regan, believe it or not. Nate Bargatze. Is that 3?
Yep.
I kind of want to put Andrew Schultz in there. And how about, you know what? Here's another name that you guys haven't heard of that you need to go check out. Nimish Patel. Nimish Patel is an up-and-coming comedian, and he is funny. He is funny as... So check him out. Austin, we got this question from PJ in the chat, and you can drop your questions or comments in the chat, or this is going to be really short. PJ is interested in trading, an interesting trade he made 2 or 3 weeks ago. Traded Drew Aller and Nick Singleton for Nico Iamalieva and Darius Taylor. What do you think about that trade?
I guess it really depends on how you feel about Drew Aller this year. If he's going to be better with who we perceive as a more progressive offensive coordinator there. But I think there's a lot of questions around that. Is this going to be a case of you hire a guy, but you're not really going to let him run his stuff? Are they really going to open it up for Drew Aller? And is he as good as we thought he was? I think those are all tough questions to ask or to answer right now. I don't like betting on Aller this year. So like me personally, I don't like betting on it. Would it shock me if he comes out and is really good this year? It wouldn't shock me. I just wouldn't be betting significant values, capital on that. So I will happily take that other side because I think Tennessee's offense is going to hum no matter what. They could have they could have the 3 of us running routes out there, and they'd probably still put up 3,000 plus yards passing. Like it's just how the offense goes. So I like the Nico side, and Darius Taylor is Hopefully he can stay healthy this year, but I like that duo. I think it has just as much upside as the other side.
What do you think, Justice?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, for me, I think it comes. I like Nico better than Drew Alar. All around, I think I like him better for college, obviously, and potentially NFL. And so the Darius Taylor versus Nick Singleton. I like Taylor a lot more for college fantasy, but NFL Singleton probably gets the edge. But when I play C2C, I tend to prefer the college side. So I like the Nico and Darius Taylor combo.
I've said this a bunch. I think Drew Aller is like one of the 32 most physically talented people playing quarterback, regardless of level. Like, I think that if you put him in the NFL right now, he would be, when you think about all the parts in a vacuum, arm strength, mobility, athleticism, all of that stuff. But he still throws the ball into the dirt. I have no idea why. Like, I was watching that spring game. I'm like, all right, this is going to be the spring game where he goes like 12 for 12, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he's just missing wide open dudes. And I don't really know why. Now, he doesn't have the greatest supporting cast around him. But coming out of high school, Medina, shout out to Medina, I thought that, like, this dude is his comp was Josh Allen, and I can see why. At least from, as big as he is and as mobile as he can be and his pure arm talent. But I think that he has a little bit of what DJ Uiagalelei has, where there's some hesitation there and he doesn't just know how to pull the ball. There are even plays where I see him, I don't know how to describe this. It's like where your body is trying to, as you're throwing the ball, your body is trying to simultaneously pull the ball back. It's like you see it, it almost looks like a baseball throw. Like where that, I don't even know, like that front leg comes over because it's trying to pull the ball back. Because maybe you saw something at the last minute. I see a lot. I mean, you shouldn't see that in the spring game. So I thought that we would see a lot of development between, last year and this year. And if I have Drew Aller, I'm thinking like this is the perfect time to sell because I don't think it's gonna happen. He's gonna be another Christian Hackenberg. He's 10 times more talented than Christian Hackenberg, but the progress. I don't know that it's just the offense. It might be him between the ears also. So give me the Nico Iamaleava side because at least we saw him against Iowa. We saw him run for a couple of touchdowns, and we didn't even think that was in his game. And he's got a lot of tools to work with in that offense. I mean, his offense, his skill positions are way better than Penn State's. I'm trying to think of who they got. They got Chris Brazzell. They still got Squirrel White. Is
Drew McCoy for his 18th year.
That's what I was going to say. The dude who transferred from Texas to USC to Texas to back to Tennessee, Drew McCoy. Mike Matthews, if you like him, if you think Mike Matthews can produce in year one as a freshman. I mean, they just all four of those guys would start at Penn State.
Holden Stays, I think, transferred there, right, from Notre Dame.
Tennessee?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, Tennessee has a tight end worth rostering? I didn't realize that. Mm-hmm. So give me the Nico Iamaleava side pretty easily.
I do want to – we just focused a lot on the quarterback side of that trade. What gives you more hangups about Nick Singleton? The fact that he has not always looked super comfortable between the tackles, which we kind of cited as like, from high school, he was never asked to do it, so that was going to be a bit of a learning curve for him, or the fact that he doesn't look like a very good receiver. Like, which of those is a bigger deal for you when thinking about Singleton long-term here? Because he's still that 99th percentile athlete. But those two things both still kind of stand out as issues.
I think that Nick Singleton's still going to command the draft capital no matter what. Because, he's just one of those guys that he's going to take his shirt. You know how the combine, they have you take your shirt off and do the wingspan thing? He's going to be chiseled. He's going to go run a 4.4. He's going to be 215 pounds. He's still going to get the draft capital. And so my concern about him is the fact that he's not a good running back. He's not good on either of those things. Like he's one of those guys. I guess we should probably have a adverb for this. Like we should turn Zach Wilson's name into an adverb, or excuse me, an adjective. Where let's tap the Zach Wilson stamp on this guy because he might command high draft capital, but I don't know that he's like that's when you need to trade him.
I would say the pass catching for me, because I feel like that's an easier path to like getting drafted and making and doing something in the NFL, right? So I think that's the easy one for me. I mean, it seems like guys that can run between the tackles there. I don't want to say a dime a dozen, but it's a lot easier to find and a lot more replaceable. And so the pass catching, I think, is a better pathway for him to, if you can only choose one.
What do we think about Blake Shapen in CFF this year? Blake Shapen is now at Mississippi State. Is he even starting for Jeff Levy?
Yep, he's a starter. I mean, I think for me, he's at the very least a number 6 quarterback, number 5 quarterback in a best ball draft. Kind of, he's not someone that you want to be your top probably 4, but someone that you can count on, every now and then for sure. They're not a great team, I don't think, and so I expect a lot of offense and a lot of passing from them.
Yeah, they're going to run a ton of plays this year, right? They might lead the NCAA like the FBS and plays run per game, and that's probably going to skew pretty heavily toward the pass. I would expect over 60% neutral game script pass rate. You think, Justice, at least?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
64, 65%.
They're going to be playing from behind a lot, I feel like, right? And so, and Levy likes to pass it around anyway. So,
yeah, that's why I like those receivers a lot too. Kelly and Coleman and Akiari or whatever. Yeah, I like both those guys a lot this year.
I think there was a time in which Blake Shapen was pretty damn high in my rankings. What did he come in for? He took over for Jerry Bohannon, if I remember correctly, and that was as a freshman. He had Jeff Collins as his offensive coordinator. Speaking of Zach Wilson, Jeff Collins was the offensive coordinator at BYU. Wide zone, play action off wide zone, these long developing deep shots. And he had Monterey ball. I thought that the offense was perfect for a quarterback to have success there. But so Justice says quarterback 6. That's probably right.
I have him ranked at quarterback 82 overall for C2C. That's like a guy that I think is definitely worth rostering. And I have him down with like Tyler Van Dyke. Some real deep stash guys, Bert Emanuel Jr. in there, just because I never know what to do with Bert Emanuel Jr. Like those, that's
he's bust or nothing, man. I feel like for sure this year.
I don't know, but yeah. So I mean, I think he's definitely rosterable. But
I mean, I'd rather have him. I guess it really depends on your team makeup. I'd rather have him than either of the 2 guys you mentioned, just because I feel like he's going to be more consistent, right? Bert Emanuel Jr. has a super high ceiling. But his floor is absolutely 0, right? He might not even be the starter.
You have to if it's a best ball, you have to carry an extra quarterback if you take Bert Emanuel, I think. Yeah.
All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Austin, who are your top 5 comedians?
Man, I wouldn't have a real.
You wouldn't have a real list?
A real list for you? No, I wouldn't.
You have to let the audience know something about you, Austin. So what's your well, I know you like shoes.
I do like shoes.
You like well-made shoes. When Austin and I were in New York.
Yeah, not like sneakers, like nice shoes.
Like Taylor, like leather.
Yeah.
Handmade Italian, something with a sole, something that's sewed in.
Yep.
Austin likes that stuff.
Big fan. Yeah.
I know. Oh, here's look at Moxley. We're about to have a full stage.
Casually 13 minutes late. I like it. Mr. Moxley?
I didn't say I was going to be on time. I just said I would be here.
Yeah, well, I don't know. What else do you want to know about me, Felix? I have no hobbies right now outside of
C2C
this in my spare time. Yeah, and I'm trying to get in shape again. That's like all I do in my.
I've noticed. I mean, there was a time where you got a little puffy. I had too. It's funny because this is like documented history, so I can go back in time and see when I was working out a lot and when I've not been, because it's just the face is fatter. You can see it in the face. So, what's up with you, Mox?
I was just watching the NHL draft, and now that my team picked, I hopped on.
Who's your team?
Devils.
New Jersey.
Oh, that's right.
Anton Siliev. Never heard of him. #1 fan.
Star in the making.
He's 6'7", moves quick for a guy his size. I mean, that's perfect.
The next Zdeno Chara.
Listen, I heard the comp to Victor Hedman with a little less offense. I can do with that.
Felix doesn't know who any of these people are, so
I know exactly who that is. I've held the Stanley Cup back in 1998. Detroit Red Wings. Yeah, I
didn't think you were supposed to hold it unless you won it or like were adjacent to somebody who won it.
I mean, if
you're a fan, you're allowed to hold it. If you're like an ex-player or like a current player, you definitely cannot hold it.
So my father worked for the city of Detroit, and in the 1998 parade, I rode in Councilwoman Sheila Cockrell's car. And so, again, I was probably like 9 or 10 years old. And, I got to hold the cup. Sheila Cockrell's son ended up being – this is way inside baseball here. Nobody cares. Sheila Cockrell's son, Ken Cockrell, ended up being the interim mayor of Detroit after Kwame Kilpatrick went to jail for like a text message scandal. Anybody from Michigan, from the east side of the state, you remember this. The Kwame Kilpatrick scandal there. Ken Cockrell was the interim mayor. All right. What are the expectations for Duke's offense this year? Austin, you just talked about Jordan Moore. You like him.
I think he's going to get peppered with targets. I think other than that, this offense is going to be absolutely god-awful. I don't want to own any other pieces of this offense. I have no idea what their identity is. I have no idea what to expect from a run pass split perspective. They're projected to be one of the worst teams in the ACC, according to the C2C winning edge stuff. Like, this is just a team that's bad. I think the line's bad. I think the quarterback plays bad. Like, I think Jordan Moore is the only player worth a damn at all on that roster.
The defense is worse.
Is it going to be really bad? Did they lose a lot of guys at Oka?
Well, man, they lost Dwayne Carter, right, to the NFL. They're the guy in the middle. He was by far their best defensive player. And I feel like they graduated some linebackers too and DBs. So, yeah, I agree with your sentiments, Austin. Other than Jordan Moore, and like, I'm not jumping out of my seat to grab him either, but he's really the only one.
No love for Malik Murphy. None.
The tough part is he looks so bad in a good situation, and now you throw him into a really bad situation. It's just tough to expect, better play or growth or really anything from that perspective,
I would say
is it not telling, though, that like Duke was his best situation to go into with a new head coach who was defensively oriented? Because like that tells me all I need to know about Malik Murphy, that like teams weren't lining up for him.
Malik Murphy or Kyle McCord?
McCord.
To run my offense if I'm a college team, McCord.
Okay.
Well, I answered assuming he wants who are we going to draft, and I would draft McCord first.
I probably would too. I'm just trying to stir the pot here. Here's another question from our Discord, and I know you answered this in the Discord, Austin, but I think it's good to talk about it here. Over Plastic One says, I'm running a home C2C league. They want the college side to be Power 4 only. Best ball, probably 50 round NCAA draft. Should the lineup have 2 QBs and a super flex option or just 2 QBs? So, in other words, should we be able to start 3 quarterbacks or just 2? Justice, what do you think?
I would say I'd go 3. I mean, there's 60 some P4 teams. I'm off the top of my head. I know there's 65 or 64 G5 teams. I know that for a fact. So I'm just trying to do the math. So, I don't know, 70. Is there 70 P4 teams?
Yes, it should be 70. Yeah.
So 12 owners. It's going to put a premium on the position for sure, right? But I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Well, and how many like bad Power 4 quarterbacks are there in terms of like fantasy value? Like
Vanderbilt, but they got Pavia, right? I mean, so maybe they'll be better than they have been traditionally.
Like I think whoever starts in North Carolina will probably not be good this year. Whoever starts at Pitt this year probably won't be very good. What other schools?
There's probably 12 to 15.
The Big 12, like UCLA starter probably sucks for fantasy. Like they're you can just go through. I'm honestly not convinced that Indiana will be good this year. Like there's a lot of them. So,
I mean, 36. There'd be 36 starters, right? So
yeah, I lean 2.
Yeah,
If it's a home league and you're trying to make it easier, I wouldn't put another quarterback because like if that's your goal, home league usually implies to me that there's a lower level of interest and or knowledge going into it.
I think 2 is the right answer. But if you're in a like all conferences, all teams sort of league, I think you can go 3 to 4, like easily. I have no issue with maxing out the quarterback position in those cases. But
I mean, Austin and I playing with a 24 team, 3 quarterback league. That's pushing it, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's, I don't know. I like to have more starting positions than not, just mostly because there's so many talented like players overall. I just think you should make your starters at least somewhat questionable.
Yeah.
And I think deeper quarterback is the start of that. You good there, Felix?
I mean, I'm like, this light is like above my head. So, all right. There are 2. I heard 2 people get slandered there. Indiana got slandered, and then Austin, you slandered the starter at Indiana. You don't believe in at North Carolina. You don't believe in Connor Harrell?
It's allegedly not Connor Harrell. It's Max Johnson. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and I don't think the weapons are any good there. The offensive coordinator, like all last year, we sat there and said like Drake May's going to have to succeed in spite of this dude. Like, and now you're putting a guy that's like half the talent in there and expecting results. And for Indiana, like, it's not any disrespect to Indiana. You've got a coach bringing a bunch of a roster that's stepping up a level in their first year in a defense-first conference. I just don't expect on a team that wasn't good offensively last year. So it's not like you have some building blocks there. So I don't really. I'm kind of fading that whole offense. I don't love Elijah Surratt this year for fantasy either. Like, actually, I think that offense will struggle. That team as a whole will struggle this year. And then I think it's kind of, what can they do beyond that?
I think it's interesting to see how they do because like that team for the most part was built from the G5, right? Yeah. Now, they were good G5 players, but it's going to be interesting to see, how that works out for them.
Probably raises their floor. I just don't see like a ceiling there really for them.
Yeah,
I was going to ask about Elijah Surratt also.
Yeah, their win total currently is 5.5. So, and they don't play the most difficult schedule in the world either. So, I think Vegas thinks they might not be very good either. Which Curtis Rourke has been hurt for how many years in a row? First of all, at quarterback. And they lost Brandon Sorsby to Cincinnati, and I think one time we liked Taven Jackson, but not sure the excitement's still there currently. So, yeah. Indiana's whatever. Meh.
That's because they should have hired Chuck Martin, who has.
I don't think the hire was the issue. Like, the hire is perfect for a team like Indiana. The issue is you're Indiana. Your upside is like bowling each year. Like that is a successful outcome for the Hoosiers. year in and year out. Like it's bowling in the current Big Ten. Like you were excited about that. And like I think Cignetti is the type of guy who can get you there. And I like Chuck Martin too. Like I think he should have a better job, but like Cignetti's a good coach for what Indiana is trying to do.
I'm like 2 hours from Bloomington. If there's anybody in like Indiana that wants to go to an Indiana football game for some reason this year, hit me up. From Ben Deho. Does Avery Johnson have any NFL upside? Mox?
Not until he approves his passing, he doesn't. So as of right now, June 28th, 2024, no. He just doesn't.
Does he have any NFL upside is the question. Like, I just want to make sure we're answering the correct prompt here.
I interpreted this to be like any valuable
like
NFL
legit.
upside. Like, of course he could go day 3 because he's like a project quarterback. But like day 1 or day 2 seems out of the question until we see him develop as a passer beyond like 5 yards. I think that's fair.
He just has to show some Anthony Richardson flashes, and he could get taken on day 1. But I wrote the freshman profile for him, and he was very much like just a freestyle, like Johnny Manziel at quarterback. Just took off running and was not accurate. They did a lot of stuff around the line of scrimmage. That's okay. But if you're going to do that, like hit the wide receivers right in the chest. And even those passes would often be off target. But the dude is like Lamar Jackson level athletic.
Well, do you think he has like a Julian Edelman career path?
I think who's the backup quarterback for Robbie Ashford? I think Robbie Ashford is like a guy who could be an NFL wide receiver. And I think that Avery Johnson is just as athletic as he is.
So here's the question about Avery Johnson. How much can he improve his passing over the next, let's say, 2 years? Like, is there I don't know this enough. I don't think I evaluate quarterbacks well enough or like players in general to ascertain this, but like, can he get there? Because I don't think he's close to being there currently. Like, can he make that jump? Because we know how athletic he is. Is there a path forward for him as a passer? Is really the question.
Mox, before you got on, we talked about Drew Aller, and Drew Aller has not made progress from like year 1 as a starter to at least through the spring game. I didn't see the progress. So, and he had better.
You're going to bring up a whole different debate if I touch on that.
No, well, I'm just saying. They're 2 different players, but I'm saying as far as progression, Drew Aller started with like better tools, better passing acumen than Avery Johnson, and hasn't gotten better from year 1 to year 2. I don't really have any reason to believe that Avery Johnson will get better from year 1 to year 2.
Just a couple other pieces of that offense. I think I don't consider Avery Johnson, from just like what I've watched of him, to be like a super aggressive passer. And it's a very conservative offense from like a depth of target perspective. I don't see a lot of difference between Avery Johnson and Haynes King today. Like today. I just don't see a lot of difference between those 2 players. The difference is that Avery Johnson is 3 years younger or whatever, and you're hoping that he ends up getting better than Haynes King. But like today, I don't see that much difference between them. It's a really big bridge to, cross. Never really want to rule out any of these just hyper athletic guys, because obviously if they hit, they're worth a lot. But yeah, I don't know that like I don't think he has it today, and I don't think that he's in like a situation that I feel really good about saying like I think they'll put him in a position to get better at things. Like the wide receiver room is not strong really overall. They probably want to run the ball more. I think they'll run a lot of like RPO type stuff. I don't know. I don't think it's an NFL friendly offense, and I don't think his skill set right now is NFL ready. So I don't know if those 2 mesh.
I think I would have felt a lot better if Colin Klein had stayed as offensive coordinator. Like I think there was a path forward for a little bit of development. But I'm a little concerned now. So I had heard, and I think this is like widely reported, so it's not like I'm breaking anything, but they were happy to move on from Will Howard to get Avery Johnson in there. So like, how much does that matter of the staff's opinion? Because that's in the back of my head. I think I texted in our Slack today, and I said, yeah, I like Avery Johnson when he throws a forward pass like correctly. But like the staff, I think thinks they can do that, thinks that they can mold him or that he can do it now. So
I don't blame because the staff's option is: do I get one more year of Will Howard, or do I potentially get 3+ more years of Avery Johnson? And if I'm a staff, that's probably a pretty easy decision for me, especially if like the alternative is that Avery Johnson will leave if we don't do this, and then we have 1 year of Will Howard, and it's really tough to get like good recruits to Kansas State.
That's an indictment of Will Howard, though, not an endorsement of Avery Johnson.
Maybe, yeah.
No, I mean I don't disagree. I think that's the way that you're implying, maybe not intentionally. I don't know. Like that's how I read it, and I don't disagree.
The answer, I guess, would be no. But I mean, there is you just never know how these players are like wired internally. Like if they're just going to go work their behind off with a private quarterbacks coach in the offseason and just really come back looking different. I would say the probability on that is low, but he has NFL athleticism. So
have we seen a player historically make that jump? Like I know I said that earlier into like a lesser
I think
scale,
Lamar Jackson. Like if you watch Lamar Jackson as a freshman at Louisville, and I was here at the time, he was not very effective as a passer.
I have one in mind. Let me just look and see what his freshman year looked like before I give this answer and then look stupid when I look it up. Okay, so
it just feels like such an uphill battle.
Jaden Daniels was not great his freshman year. Surrounded by pretty good talent there at Arizona State. Completed barely 60% of his passes. Now, he didn't throw a lot of picks. Like, he was super safe with the ball, 17 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But, like, real low ADOT, relied a lot on yards after the catch. And didn't really get better year 2 either. And I think a lot of people started writing him off. And even, like, year 3.
I thought what Jaden Daniels showed as a freshman is way beyond what Avery Johnson has done thus far. Like I wouldn't even compare those situations. I actually thought Daniels as a freshman was pretty good.
I mean, I feel
like as a passer, like good enough. Yeah, is what I should say.
Like the examples you guys gave of Jaden Daniels and Lamar Jackson, I feel like they at least displayed, like, I feel like they had more arm strength than what you've seen from Avery Johnson at this point.
Do you think Avery Johnson has a 50th percentile arm ish? What, like, where is it, like, average? I don't have like a real good gauge on what I would think. I don't
either.
I mean, like today, based on what I've seen, I feel like it's worse than that.
Less than that? Okay.
Yeah, but
I got to go watch that bowl game again and see how they used him. So, but I like that comp for Jaden Daniels. Ryan asks, which player is going like 50 he's going to end up top 5? I feel like for me, it would be all names that I've said already. And we are just taking questions. Somebody asked that. We're just, there's no set schedule. This is just an AMA. Jade Mayava would be one that I would put up there.
Maybe
Rocco Becht, maybe. Next
I mean,
year.
that's where Garrett Nussmeier goes. So
I was going to say, if you're
triple down, right?
Garrett Nussmeier, that's the easy answer.
Yeah,
50 or below.
Is this like NFL draft top 5? Is that what we're assuming?
That was my initial.
Yeah,
I thought he was saying like a top 5 startup pick next year.
Oh, I'd assume
that's what I was thinking of. But that's almost the same question.
I mean, if I looked at it from a CFF standpoint, which player is going 50th or worse and going to end up a top 5 scoring? Well, no, that's got to be a quarterback, right? And so Jordan McLeod, Nico. They're both worse than 50 and ADP, and both could end up top 5 scoring for CFF purposes.
I would circle back, like for the CFF example. I think one of those Mississippi State wide receivers has a real shot to be a wide receiver one this year.
You're doing it again.
I really think 2 of them might get 100 targets. Like
I think they do that from a position standpoint, but like top when I see that,
top 5 overall,
it's got to be a quarterback, right?
Yeah. I'm thinking of like offenses are just going to run a shit ton of plays, and the volume. These guys are just kind of attached to it, and you're just hoping that they get a piece of it. That's like the kind of guy I'm thinking of for that.
And I've been a longtime fan of Kevin Coleman there. Was at Jackson State and then Louisville and now Mississippi State. Who's the other wide receiver there?
Akiari.
Yeah, Kelly Akiari. The deep threat from the G5.
Wait, where was he? UTEP last year?
He was at UTEP. He was the guy that had 3 catches, 126 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Okay. And that's who Blake Shapen is throwing to.
Mm-hmm. And Mario Craver, maybe.
They got Seydou Traore, tight end, Justin Ball, another tight end.
Seydou Traore is the one who transferred, who was at Colorado and then left.
Yeah. Arkansas State to Colorado.
He was at Colorado for not even a full semester, I believe.
He was there like for the spring, and that's it.
Right. Okay. All right, here we go. Name 3 players at each position that will have a 15-year significant playing time career in the NFL. I mean, it's
Frank
easy
Gore
to
Jr.
Frank Gore Jr.
He's got the genes for it.
15 years is a long time. Like, you would have to be a wide receiver who just has a lot of longevity, like a route runner. That's the only – I mean, we could pick quarterbacks here, but I feel like that would be cheating.
Well, he asked for 3 in each position.
He said 3. He said 3 players at each position. Oh, damn. Oh, come on, man. I mean,
there's probably not. We could have 3. We could name 3 running backs, and combined, they may not play 15 years.
Yeah, I'm fighting for my own life. Dang, dude.
Jace Brown from Kansas State. Harold Fannin from Bowling Green. Is it Harold?
Yes, it's Harold.
Yes, it's Harold.
And Graham Mertz, Florida.
I mean, Mertz isn't terrible. Well, he did say significant playing time, so that's not a good answer. Yeah, I was gonna say it's not a bad answer. He could be a career backup, but he's definitely not getting significant playing time, I don't think.
Arch is my best answer. The Mannings play forever once they get there. I mean,
what about Carson Beck? Like,
that's what I was going to ask. Why not Beck?
Even if he doesn't hit as a starter, like, I think a backup career is in his future. Like he's so solid.
Well, it says 15-year significant playing time.
I mean, I feel like Nussmeier, like can not Nussmeier not be Matt Ryan?
Sure.
So could Beck if you protect those guys. I mean, their games are going to age well. They're not dependent on athleticism. So both of those guys, they're not dependent on like running around, I should say.
I assume this was a troll question, just like just to have fun.
Any year 2 wide receivers that you could think can take a step forward this year outside of the top known names in the ranks?
Can I go first? Because
no,
I tweeted about him earlier. I've said it. I've talked about him a lot. I've seen other people talk about him a lot. Jaylen Lloyd, Nebraska wide receiver, averaged over 35 yards per reception last year. He is a 10-4, like confirmed 100 meter.
10-4?
Like, yeah, he's legit. I think he needs to improve as a wide receiver a lot, but like he has the goods to be a player. I just like his speed alone is enough. It's like Jaylen Lloyd's not a guy who I think is going in C2C drafts and generally speaking in drafts, but he's an interesting player.
Just talked about him. Matt just talked about him.
Yeah, no, I mean we've been talking about him for a little bit on this channel, so. Yeah, he's a good player in some capacity.
What about Malik Benson at Florida State?
What about Jace Brown?
I mean, I do agree, but I do think that's possible.
Oh, Mike Valerie's punching air right now.
What do you guys think about someone like Creed Whitmore? Like, I don't know. Like, I felt, he was got a little bit of buzz going to Mississippi State. I haven't heard a whole lot out of him. I think he was hurt in the spring, which doesn't help. But I don't know. It just seems like someone that year two you could take a swing on, and maybe, like Austin said, he's one of those guys catching passes from Blake Shapen.
Yeah, I just had to double check and make sure he was still there because I haven't heard anything about him this offseason, which is weird to me.
Is he? I'm trying to figure out how to say this diplomatically. Although it's a Friday night, and
yes, he's white, Chris.
Yeah, I know he's white. Obviously, that's why I'm trying to say it diplomatically. Is he anything more than like a somewhat athletic slot receiver? Because I'm not sure he is. And not that that's like a bad role either. I'm just like that is who he is, right?
He's like Taylor Warren at Wake Forest.
Jeff Levy made Drake Stoops into a machine last year, so it's definitely possible. It's a good answer. I was going to say Chris Brazzell. I don't know if he's ranked too high.
Really?
Sure, why not? I think the rest of that receiver room, they're one of those programs that has this type, and they will take 20 of them, and for one of them to work out, and that's fine for them.
Right.
Because they tried with Leacock, they tried with Deontay Thornton, they tried with, was it Webb? Was there
Caleb Webb?
Yeah, Caleb Webb. Like they've been trying to find this big athletic guy on the perimeter, and they haven't found him yet. I think Brazzell's probably the best guy that fits that archetype on the team right now. So, and again, it's an offense that's just going to pass the ball a ton, and probably could be the wide receiver too there.
Is he really only a second-year player?
I think he was a redshirt freshman last year. Was he? I don't think he was a true freshman for Tulane.
I'm not sure. I am literally asking.
I think Felix is right. I think he was a redshirt.
So he's a third-year player.
Okay. Some bad answer then. Come on, Austin.
And we don't love Omari Thomas just because of the athleticism, right? Like I think we have questions about like, is that a profile that can succeed long term? Like he isn't super athletic. He wins contested catches at like 5'11", 205. Like that isn't really a successful profile, or else I would name him.
But I mean, do you think he can get drafted, round 6, round 7?
Yeah, I mean, I think he could, but
I just think like Tawan Palmer got drafted. I feel like Amari Thomas is better than him. So
yeah, I'm trying to think of some of these deep guys. Like Lewis Brown is a third-year guy. That's a name that comes to mind. I think the most underrated second-year wide receiver that has like real high potential is Amarian Miller, but we're just not going to get that from him this year at Colorado. So
I honestly thought you were going to say Malachi Coleman.
I mean, I think he's ranked too high to put in that bucket. Maybe I'm wrong. I think people think I'll hire Malachi Coleman than Amarian Miller.
Would you put him in that bucket if he was ranked lower per se?
Well, yeah, but the question was who's ranked really low.
Well, I'm asking you, do you think Malachi Coleman is going to take a step this year and like emerge as yes, he's higher ranked, but is he going to emerge as a like legit player?
I hope so.
I hope I get $1 million. I'm asking if you believe that.
You can't. I don't think that you're going to have 2 wide receivers break out for Nebraska this year. So it's either going to be Jaylen Lloyd or Malachi Coleman. I
would guess Coleman has a better chance, but
Coleman didn't play it all this spring, right? Or missed the spring game or something, right? That's correct. I don't know. It weirds me out when guys are going into the second year and they miss the spring.
Mm-hmm.
What about Nick Harbor?
I think he's ranked too high, but I think it's a good answer.
Yeah, I guess he's kind of high. I mean, he's a wide receiver 31.
We should have a list of players who are like great.
But Jacoby Lane. He's too high.
Jacoby Lane's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Denzel Boston. Is that a second-year guy?
I think he's third.
Third. But what about what's the other
was a
kid's name in
freshman.
Alabama?
I thought Denzel Boston was a freshman last year.
Well, Jalen Hale, I guess, before injury, but
Yeah.
what about Yazid Haynes at Syracuse?
I could see that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wider like second-year wide receiver. That's tough.
Here's a real weird one. And I don't think this passing offense is going to be very good. But hear me out. Rico Flores, UCLA. Could he be their best receiver?
Yeah, I think he could be their best receiver.
That's all I got.
Jaden Skeet, Boston College.
Who?
Jaden Skeet, Boston College. He
I
might
have
be
no
their
idea
best
who that
receiver, second-year guy. I just don't know how effective they're going to be throwing the ball.
Yeah. Is he ahead of like Bond and Ballard and those guys? Like in terms of like, you think target pecking order? Or not Ballard, Jaron Bradley. Sorry. Bradley's there, right?
I don't know. I thought, he might be. I don't know. I mean, I know reports from the spring where he looked good and looked really great in the spring game. So,
What about, not that I have a strong opinion on this player, but Tiger Bachmeier. I know he was old coming in, but like he got on the field pretty early.
I keep like every time I want to bump a player up, he's like the threshold player that I use. I'm like, I'll just bump him right ahead Tiger Bachmeier. I'll just bump him right ahead Tiger Bachmeier. So I've done that about 20 times this offseason at this point. But I don't.
He's the last guy I think in that list where I'm like, well, I could see it.
I see Andrew in the chat. I would recommend everybody go check out the Approaching the Pros YouTube page. Andrew did a study on the year 1-0 theory that applies to wide receivers, and he applied it to the running back position, applying certain thresholds and the percentages of success based on those thresholds. So I'd recommend you go check
it is listed as a listen for me. I've not listened to it yet.
Watch later.
But I have marked it.
Watch later. I see Fantrax retweeted it. You know, Fantrax needs to get into the content game. I mean, given that they're
trying.
I guess, yeah.
when you say get in, what do you mean? Like articles, podcasts?
Well, they already do that. The podcasting and the video content, I think that they should be doing. I mean all of it. I feel like you should be doing all of it.
They used to have a CFF podcast.
Just like Yahoo. I mean, when Yahoo has articles, they have podcasts.
Do you remember who hosted their podcast, Justice?
Yeah, it was Scott Bogman, and then he was probably the longest running one. And then at times he had John Lobb on, and then I think the last year it was John Lobb and Froton.
I did not know that.
With Bogman.
Scott Bogman on the C2C podcast feed every time the C2C Winning Edge podcast drops.
CFB Winning Edge, the CFB Winning Edge podcast. Yeah. They went over the ACC today. So. Okay. Well, that was fun. Austin, you don't have a top. What top five can you give? Can you give me a top five cereals? Can you give me a top five bands? Like, I know you like music.
I would actually like to hear his top five bands.
That's a tough one. It's all
I would
like
like to know if I could just recite one song from your top.
it's all like mid late 90s, early 2000s, like punk rock type stuff is basically what I listen to.
So Blink 182 is
Yeah,
first.
my favorite band.
Is Pearl Jam on the list?
Nah,
Or is
not
that
big
too-
Pearl Jam. They're a little more
The two little West Coast
yeah, like
fish,
that, like
fish style for you.
yeah, more like that alt grunge rock. I'm not. It's like less grunge and more punk is. So like I listen to more punk. I like Third Eye Blind a lot. Let's see. What do I listen to the most? What do I listen to the most of? I actually really like Yellow Card, like a lot. They're a little less punk though. Let's see here.
Felix, do you know any Blink
I have
182
no
songs?
idea. No, I mean I'm sure if you sang the first,
He's heard at least some Blink 182 songs.
He knows.
If you told me, if you just held a gun to
all
my
the-
head and
No, you know all the small things.
Yeah, he has to know
small
that one.
things.
All the small
Small
things.
things.
Yeah, you know that one.
There we go. Yeah.
I'm not sure I could get you to. I'm not sure I could get.
It
to
ain't so. I will not go. Turn the lights off.
Lights off.
Carry
Me home.
Is that that song?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Same song.
Okay, see?
You know, I was at a wedding in.
Do you guys want to do the reverse where I give you some time and you recite and you do a song? I don't think we want to play that game.
No. So I was at a wedding in April, and my wife's youngest cousin, who must be, how old is he? Like 14. That song was like the Blink 182 song was playing, and he's like, "I've never heard this song in my life," and I was like, Jesus Christ! It was just like a sobering moment almost.
That's tough.
I mean, they're born after the 2000s, Chris. That's like somebody born in 2010. Yeah, if they're
Yeah, these are alien children. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, these are not normal. All right, Austin, we're waiting for you.
Like stuff like Newfound Glory, Taking Back Sunday, like that side of things is what I listen to a lot of.
Okay, as a white guy,
Brand
I'm
new.
not super familiar.
I was gonna say, in both Justice and Chris, you know exactly who these groups are.
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's not just me. This is not a race. Okay. All right, so we hit Austin's sweet spot with music. Mox, give me your top 5 senators.
Currently?
All right, that's all for tonight, guys. We'll see you. We'll see you next week.
Well, his top 5 senators on the Hill right now. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see. We have some more questions.
We got a kicker question. So now it's definitely time to cut the feed. That's how you know.
Which FR running back is most ever get recruited over before they can become the guy?
By the way, Cory Booker is my favorite senator currently.
I know my teammates. You got to know your teammates. You got to know your teammates. All right, guys. We'll see. We'll catch you later.